Hello. I'm back. By my lonesome. In the dark void of bad opinions and black paper. That is too loud. Oh god. There we go, that's better. So, I forgot to give my thoughts on Four Swords Adventure for a while now, because I've finished Breath of the Wild by the time I've done this. I really need to give my thoughts on it. So when it comes to the world of Four Swords Adventures, I appreciate the sort of bite-sized levels because it helps them stay fresh and it keeps them from overstaying their welcome. But it also means the game fails to really build on any of its puzzles in a meaningful way. And it's kind of the same thing with the combat. Outside of the few new enemies that get introduced throughout the course of the game, it's kind of just, here's a horde of monsters, or here's the ball and chain guy, here's Dark Link, here's a boss. So the game never really expands beyond it. World-wise, I think it being sort of smaller levels can work for the kind of game they went for, and it's enjoyable enough. But it'd be nice to see sort of a more long-form style game with those mechanics, which, from what I've played of Minish Cap so far, it feels like that's what that's kind of going for. Where it's a full Zelda game, but it has little Four Swords mechanics in certain areas. So, you know, the world's okay. It's alright. Story-wise, it's more like the classic Zeldas. But I do appreciate not the creation of the Four Swords, but them doing more with the Four Sword. Because it was originally created for the add-on campaign of the Game Boy port of fucking A Link to the Past or something? And that is... It's weird that they'd have an item that big and powerful and interesting locked to that title. But yeah, story-wise, it's very similar to A Link to the Past. Some maidens, Zelda. There's a character that isn't Ganon, but Ganon's behind the scenes, he's behind it all. Really, it's the same story, just with different central. Vati doesn't play anywhere near as interesting as a role as in Minish Cap, from what I've seen, because Vati's not a character, he's a villain. He has a giant ball with eyes, flies around and shoots gusts of wind at you. He's a boss to be fought. So I think the story is kind of bog standard. Characters ties into the story. There's the links, and while people have given the various links personalities over the years, like the purple one's kind of lazy, the red one's very hot-headed, the blue one is calm and collected from what I've seen. I could be wrong, I don't remember, it's been ages. Other than that, you mostly got like SNES level characterization, where it's some sprites and some text, and they have one bit of dialogue when you talk to them. And maybe one more once you complete what they ask you to do. So, the characters, they're there. They're not really too special. Which, after the release of Wind Waker, and it being a console game, with console hardware and power, you know, the GameCube, it really feels a bit lacking at this point. Gameplay-wise, game's quite nice. It fixes a lot of the problems that I have with 2D Zeldas. The swinging is sensible. The different formations are very handy for combat. And they do a decent job of keeping things fresh. You know, they take concepts and enemies from A Link to the Past and other 2D Zeldas, and they do interesting things with them. Like having Dark Link be a sort of... rival fight sort of thing, but they have, they can change into different colors that you have to fight with one Link. They have, Mulgara. Is his name Mulgara? They have the weird worm boss that I hate. He comes back, but with the added twist of you have to hit him with a certain color Link. And then the spinny four-headed thing comes back, and again, same twist. Hit him with different links. And so the game really only has one gimmick. Other than that, it's the same as A Link to the Past. But it fixes the few small problems I have in Link to the Past, and it keeps levels bite-sized and unique enough to where things stay decently fresh throughout the whole thing. I think the final chapter is definitely the most interesting. Those 3 levels where you're in the clouds and the tower. And even just the Ganon sprite is really good. Being able to upgrade the weapons is super neat, but I don't really like the idea of only being able to have 1 item at a time, which is solved by playing in co-op, but that requires 4 Game Boys. 3 Game Boys and a GameCube? I don't remember. But yeah, like, being able to cycle through the items after you find them in a level would be super nice. Like, oh, you found the bow. It goes in the backpack. Push. Because I want to say they doubled up some buttons again. Stop doubling up buttons and instead give me different fucking things. Let me cycle through my equipment with L and R, and then have Y and X be your formation buttons. Or, cycle through with Y and X, have L and R be formation buttons. There's ways to do this. There's ways to make this not ass. But instead, Nintendo isn't interested in that. They want to have a very simple control scheme. And some of the design of the puzzles is like, you gotta go get this item, then do a thing, and go back and take the other item, then do a thing. But you could just not have the backtrack. But the leveling up is quite nice, and the fire wand with the upgrade is super cool. Some of the puzzles at the end get dumb, like how the boomerang just goes through a wall, and that's how you're supposed to know to do that. Like, that is... I hate that puzzle. Because I swear I'd seen... Well, no, I'd seen the boomerang bounce off the edge of the screen, which I took as the wall. So... it's weird. I don't get it. Yeah, like, it's a fun enough game. And I imagine co-op it's a lot more fun, because you've got 4 Links actually running around and fucking around. And you'd solve puzzles faster, you'd be able to hold items more, you'd probably die faster, but you'd still have a ton of fairies, so... I think solo games like... the gameplay is like, 6.5 out of 10. Multiplayer? If it is as fixed as I think it is with the multiplayer mechanics, I can see it being like an 8. I can see it being a lot more fun, and just like, it's good to have co-op games. It's good to have things to fuck around in with your friends. And music-wise, it's Zelda music. It's good. It's a 2D Zelda that has the music capabilities of the GameCube, and it does quite well with them, I'd say. I think it is still kind of sounds like MIDI, though. Music still sounds very, very much like flat notes, but I'm also not a music person, so maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, no, I like the music. It's quite solid. It might be like the most solid part of the game, in my mind. Lengthwise, I think it drags on a little bit, but that's kind of just that thing of, like, the levels aren't that varied because they have to remain small, and it's that Nintendo thing of they refuse to put in a difficult puzzle. And, like, I had 80 fairies by the end of the game. It'd be fine to have some challenge. It'd be fine for something to be difficult. Like, I don't know. I also just have a problem where, like, 2D Zelda is just kind of drag for me. Like, I'm just constantly, like, I'm yawning whilst playing them, but I'm not tired and I'm not bored. I think it's just there's something about the top-down view that drains me a little bit. But yeah, lengthwise, I think it overstays its welcome a little bit. But by the last chapter, they bring in enough unique stuff, and the final chapter's short enough to where it's not that big a problem. Jank-wise? Was there jank? I don't know if there was jank. Might have been jank. I don't know. Not sure. I don't remember any jank. No, you know what, there is jank. There's times where, like, one of the links you're not controlling in a line will suck you into a hole and it pulls the rest of them in. So the one link falls in, you hear, ah! And then the other links fall in, you're like, ah! So it's got a bit of jank to it. Whoops. What is it? Fucking GCN out of 10? Yeah, there we go. There's no DLC, it's a game. But yeah, ultimately, it's a satisfying enough game that is almost entirely gameplay focused. But it mostly just apes a lot of previous games. So it's, all in all, you know, it's fun, it's enjoyable. I'd say it's worth playing through, but it's nothing special. It's no Ocarina of Time, it's no Wind Waker, it's no Majora's Mask. There's not that much that's interesting about it. It doesn't have the charm of Link's Awakening. It doesn't have, you know, the intrigue and mystery of Majora's Mask. It doesn't have the solid game design of Ocarina of Time, and it doesn't have the visual charm of Wind Waker and the joy of sailing. So it's just a functional game. It's an enjoyable, fun game. It is nowhere near perfect. But I also don't know what I would do to improve it, because 2D Zeldas aren't my thing. Either way, that is my thoughts on Four Swords Adventures. Thank you for clicking this. I'm gonna go sleep because it's fucking midnight. See you next time.